Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. We have the Toronto Bonsai Society Spring Show and Sale coming up this weekend, and I thought this might be a potential tree to put in the show. So I'm going to clean it up today, and then when it's all cleaned up, I'll make my final decision if it goes in the show this spring, or I can always leave it until the fall show. Here is a look at the tree. So I had the tree outside, and some of the indoor leaves got a little sunburned, but not too badly. So I'm hoping the foliage looks good enough for the show. I'll see once it's all pruned up and see how it's looking. I'm going to start the work by pruning up the canopy of the tree. I'm going to prune it back, making it more compact. So on this shoot coming out the front, I've got an old leaf here, and then this new bud emerged into a branch, and it grew up, and I've got a leaf, one to the right, one to the left, so I'll prune it off just above there. And there's a leaf growing up on the inside. I can take away. Any leaves that are fanning outwards I'll keep. Just helps increase the density of the canopy. This one is going in a strange direction. I'll get rid of that. This shoot growing vertical here, I think I better take it off nice and compact to here. There's an old leaf here that's quite large. I'm going to get rid of that one. It's just too large. And then on the tip here, I'll just prune the tip off. And there's a leaf back here that's quite sunburned. I better take that off too. Doesn't look good having a yellow leaf in your canopy. Okay. There's a stub here I can remove. Like that. There's a stub here I can remove. And a leaf tip I can remove there, or a branch tip. Yeah, some of these branches grew quite well since I last pruned it, and other ones, the lower, weaker ones, haven't done a lot. So I'll just prune all these vigorous ones back. So I've got one shooting straight up here. I'll take back to this leaf. I've got one here. Trim that one back. Trim this one back. This one back. There's a vigorous one here I can take back. Well, I think that's about as pruned up as I can get the tree. I've taken a lot off, actually. More than I expected. There's a lot of, new shoots and crisscrossing branches and big old leaves. I'll show you what I took off. There's a look at the canopy of the tree, and then this is what I took off today. So, I would say a good third of the foliage. Maybe a quarter. Quarter is probably more accurate. Let's have a look at the tree from the front. Here is a look at the tree from the front. So I think it's looking quite nice. So my next step, I've got a lot of moss growing up the roots here that I've got to pick off. And then I have to clean up the soil surface and plant new moss where I want it. So that's next, is kind of doing all the prep work around the base of the tree. I'll come in with my tweezers and just start taking that moss off the trunk and the roots. I repotted this tree quite recently, so it won't need repotting for a few more years, I think. Now, I think I'm going to have to get out my toothbrush and kind of scrub this moss. It's hard to get off with the tweezers. Oh, it's working quite well, the toothbrush. So
I am getting close to needing moss. And I'm going to have to get a very fine moss. One that looks, you know, in scale with the tree. If it's too thick, it'll look not right. So I'm going to have to look for some nice sidewalk moss out front.
I went and collected some nice fine sidewalk moss. It's like velvet almost. A few weeds in there I gotta pick out. There. But yeah, very nice moss. So I'll start applying that. It has a straight edge, so I'll match the straight edge with the front of the pot. And kind of squish it in here and remove sections.
Well, that's looking pretty good there. Nice and miniature looking. I'll give that a water just to kind of flush any dirt out of the moss. Give it a clean, a wash. Yeah, that looks better. And that should brighten up in the next few days. So I think that's a good looking moss. So I will keep mossing it up all the way around the tree. That one can go right there. And just a little touch-up work around some of the roots here. Not that anyone will see the back, but it's nice to have it look good from the back too. Okay, that's all looking good. I'm going to give it a watering, again to wash the moss out and just settle it in. So here I go. Okay, I think that's looking good. My next step on the tree is to prepare the base here. So I've got 2 drainage holes in this tray underneath, and I wish I hadn't have 3D printed 2 drainage holes in there. It's better if it just catches water and the moss kind of grows in here nicely. So I think what I'll do is try and plug those drainage holes up, or at least put a screen across it or something. I'll show you what they look like. Here is a look. You can see the drainage hole right here. It's a rectangular shaped one. So I either have to plug it or put a screen over it. What I'd like to see eventually is like gravel down on the bottom and then maybe a bit of moss around the edges, just to look like it was pea gravel underneath the pot here and some moss is growing in or grass is growing in the sunlight. So I'll try and plug those holes up. I've got the tree tilted up so it can dry on the bottom of this base, and then I'm going to put some tuck tape on the bottom. That should stick really well, and then that'll solve my drainage problem. I am ready to apply the tuck tape to the bottom here. So I'll just peel a bit out, cut it off. Like that. And then I'll stick it to the bottom. Right here. Go across this way. Now this tuck tape is really tough stuff. I use it for repairing the greenhouse and it's held really well over many years. Okay, I'll do the other hole now. Get it up here. So now all my gravel won't fall through and my moss will stay nice and moist in the bottom because it won't drain the water away. So next I've got to kind of landscape this bottom. So I'm going to start with, I think, probably a layer of turfus to look like gravel, small gravel, and then I'll add some moss around the edges. I'll just clear out all the kind of big soil particles that are in there right now. Even sand would work well on the bottom. Maybe that would be better than the turfus. I think it would. Because the moss grows really well on sand, so it would naturally be quite a good base for this. I think I'm going to try sand. So my kitty is in at the vet's today, getting fixed. And he's always had a heart murmur from birth. So they're a little worried about that, but we're going to proceed. And hopefully all will go well. We'll know at the end of today, I guess. Yeah, we've got both of the two brothers in there. Okay, I'm going to start to add the sand now. So this pot design is modeled after a real life cement pot from Vietnam. They have really large bonsai, and so I modeled this pot in 3D to look like those pots they have in Vietnam. And yeah, so that's why I'm trying to create a miniature version of their giant trees. Okay, that's coming along. I have to get some more sand. I have some more sand. It's a little more damp than my other stuff. I bought a big bag of playground sand many years ago, and I thought, oh, I'll never use it all. But slowly over the years, I've been, I don't know, I'm down to about a quarter of a bag of sand now. I just keep using it for trails and pathways and top dressing. It's very useful. These aerial roots that have grown down into this bottom tray will really like this wet layer of sand here. They will grow like crazy. Okay, that's getting there. I think I'll have to wet it all down now and level it out. I think I have enough in there. Alright, here I go with the water. And it should fill this bottom tray up. I think it'll be quite sealed. That's good. I'll just drain a bit of the excess water out. So I'll just tilt it up a bit. Like that. Here's a look at the sand now. So I think it's looking quite nice. So now I need to add a bit of moss just to make it look a little more realistic. And I think I'll start around the columns, just kind of adding some greenery around the base of each of these. I'm not sure I'm liking the moss. Maybe it's just too much. Maybe I just need like little tufts of it and keep the sand around everywhere else. It might be just too big an area. Yeah, I think that's looking okay. It'll probably look really good in about 2 weeks' time as it spreads a bit and looks more natural. But I think that'll do. It should grow really well on this wet sand here. And the sand will probably stay wet all the time because it's, the pot drains down into it. I'll be watering it quite a bit. Okay, let me just throw a little more sand on top. I noticed I was a little low in some areas. Put a little more sand here and around the side here. I'm making a mess here. Okay. I'll just water that in again. Top of the tree of water too. Okay. I think that'll look okay. Here's a look at my Ficus microcarpa. I'll spin it around. So here's the front. Coming around to the right hand side. The back. The left hand side. And back to the front. Here is my human figure in the planting to show the scale of the planting. That would be about the size of a person. So that is another tree ready for this weekend's Toronto Bonsai Show and Sale. So let's go outside now and find another tree to prepare. A possibility for the spring show is my bird's nest spruce that I repotted into this round pot. But I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep it cooler this winter, and then next spring I should have the old dark colored needles on the tree, and then the new growth will be the bright green. And that's when the spruce looks its best. I kept it in the glass greenhouse this winter to protect it, and it came into, it budded out early. So I think if I wait, it should be coming out right about showtime. So I might leave that for next spring. Over here on the back benches, I do have my little cedar spirit tree here that I think would look good in the show. And I don't think I've had it in the show. I can't remember. Maybe I have, but if I did, it was a while ago. So yeah, I think that's a possible one. I could prepare that, getting some moss on it, just fixing it all up. And it looks quite good, the foliage. You can see the new growth is just starting to extend on it. So you've got the dark colored old growth and the new growth. So it looks quite nice. My elm tree here, someday this will be a show tree, but it's just not ready yet. It doesn't have the refined structure up top yet. You can see there's shoots like sticking all directions, and yeah, it's still not ready. The leaves kind of have some insect damage on them, some blisters. I did spray it with soap and water just recently. I noticed ants were crawling up the trunk, so I've stopped that. So yeah, someday that'll be a good show tree, and I want the root base in the trunk to develop a little more. This part of the trunk was buried under the soil originally, and it kind of doesn't have quite as nice a trunk texture as up top. It's getting there, but it's not quite there. The larch forest, this is the back of it. It is just a big fluffy blob. I could get it ready for the show, but you can see how long the needles are. It's super vigorous. And there's a couple of reasons why it's so vigorous like this. It was repotted into a larger pot, so the roots have lots of room to grow, and that's what's causing all the vigor up top. You know, extremely strong growth. So all this new growth, you know, you can pinch it back. It'll get a next flush of growth. The needles will be smaller, and so on throughout the year. So by fall, I could have quite, you know, a tiny set of needles and branches on this tree. So that's what I'll do. I'll plan to show this in fall, and if it's not ready for fall, well, years in the future. Maybe next year, next spring, or next year's fall. When a tree's ready, it's ready. And, you know, out of all the trees I have on the go, there's very few that are ready to go into a show. It's they're all in development, and yeah, I could put my northern bog forest in the show, but then, you know, I've got all these kind of dead bits on the trees. So I think I'll wait, try and get it to look better and better, and then someday it'll go in a show. And it's in a mica pot too, which, you know, show trees should have ceramic pots ideally. Yeah, so another possibility is my witch's tree here. I repotted this recently into this kind of a nice pot and fixed up the landscape. The trouble with it is, because I repotted it, some of the foliage isn't looking really good yet. It's not as advanced as my little cedar spirit tree over here, where all the foliage looks good on it. So yeah, and I don't want to put two similar trees in the show. So I think this one will be what I work on next. Another cedar that could go in the show is this one, my sort of 5-trunk cedar. It's looking good, actually. It could go in the show, but I think I want to get it refined a little more still. It's a little sparse right now. I've got to try and get more back budding, and I might have to clean all that lichen off to do that. Yeah, it could be cleaned up and look quite good in the show, but I think it's just too early. I've got to do a lot of work on it and try and improve all the foliage. It's getting there, but yeah. Here's one planting that might definitely go in the show, the cocaine bear, with the little hemlock growing out of it. Yeah, I'll definitely bring that. I have a lot of tropicals on the go, but at this point in time, they're not looking so good. They've come from indoors to outdoors. Some of them got a little sunburned, like my Brazilian rain tree. Some of the leaves are a little sunburned. It's starting to push out new growth now, but it's in one of those in-between stages until the sunburnt foliage goes away and it bursts out with new growth. It'll look a little rough for a while. Same with like my Burt Davii ficus here. It was indoors and it came outdoors. It kind of defoliated a lot, and now it's starting to grow in again. So yeah, a lot of the tropical trees they never look good in spring. By fall, they'll look fantastic, but in spring, they're just not so good. My Portulacaria afroforest is maybe an exception. It was kept cool over the winter, and looks really good and healthy, and it's full. That could go in the show, but I've had it in the show recently, and I have the new pot that I'm going to repot it into, and I'm going to redo the landscaping. So there's no point me putting it in the show again until it's all, until I've got it to the next level of development, which will be, you know, with the repotting and pruning and redoing the landscape. So that will be coming. Yeah, a lot of the trees are just a bit too sparse. My hibiscus that I repotted recently gave quite a severe root pruning. It's looking good. All the buds are swelling and developing. And do you remember that camellia that I was warned not to do severe root pruning on, and I did anyway? Well, let's go have a look at that. It is in the poly house at the moment. So here it is. So it's still, you know, 2 trunk lines, but I noticed, if you look on the trunks, let me see if I can get it focused on it. You can see bumps. There's buds forming on the trunk all over them. So I think it has recovered. I think it's going to do well, which I'm almost shocked. Yeah, I think you'll see in a week or two that it will be in leaf. The leaf that was on it dried up, and that really worried me, but the bud looks really good at the end of that branch. So yeah, I think the camellia has recovered from the severe root pruning, and it's going to do quite well. Also, behind that is my mulberry. And remember I mentioned how the leaves are really tiny and the tree was growing really weakly. So I put it in this taller pot that was by Chris Snedden. And it's doing really well now. You can see the leaves getting larger and it's gaining vigor. It's got fruit all over it. Yeah, so the mulberry is also doing really well. The VW Beetle Penjing here, that could go in the show, but I've had it in the show recently and it hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, I did rearrange the trees a bit, but I think I'm going to wait till the trees get a little taller and a little more shaped, and then that'll go back in the show to show people the progress on it. Another possibility is my Norway maple here. It's not developed to the point where I think, oh wow, that's looking good. But it does look good this year. The leaves are all kind of a nice color. There's no disease on any of them. They're a fairly good size. And the tree looks fairly good in the new pot, and it's shaped kind of a bit of a windswept design, but it looks okay. So it's a possibility it may go in the show this spring. Here is a look at my grandsons. Oh, he's awake. Hello, Sebastian. Hello, Sebastian.
This Ficus microcarpa started out life as one of those grocery store ginseng ficus, mass-produced, and it's come a long way in the last, I think, maybe 15 years now, I'm guessing. Yeah, and it's got a long way to go. I think it should just keep looking a little better every year. So that's another tree ready for the Toronto Bonsai Society's spring show and sale. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.